High River residents are frustrated with the Premier, who spent the day discussing future flood mitigation while they are out of their homes still right now. This is Brian Chipchase. He lives in southwest High River in a flood fringe area. Nothing's been done with his home since volunteers emptied it in July. The home is deemed not fit for habitation, so he is forced to live in a trailer on his driveway. Chipchase has to deal with the province's disaster recovery plan for the loss on the main floor. He's received an offer of about $19,000. But he says that would only cover about a fifth of his costs. He is appealing through all the proper channels, but he says he's getting nowhere. He's frustrated primarily because he settled with his insurance company for the cash value loss in the basement, and that was weeks ago.
I'm likely going to have to use that money to raise my house 4 feet, which was the engineer's recommendation, because the disaster recovery isn't going to cover that. So I won't have a finished basement. I'll essentially be left with a house worth half as much as what I owe on it and stuck here.
Chipchase says because his home is a log house, it poses some unique challenges. There is no drywall to rip out on the main floor, but water flooded in the back door and right out the front and likely contaminated the joints between the logs. He is worried now that winter's coming and the cleaning company provided by the province will not be able to get rid of all the mold in that structure. So Alison Redford was one of many participants at this major conference to come up with ways to prevent future flooding. As Bill McFarland reports, they discussed ideas to keep waters at bay on a grand scale and at the homeowner level.
You should please join me in welcoming the Premier.
It was a day of ideas, hundreds comparing notes, sharing information, concerns, and insights. For the Premier, it was more than just an idea-gathering confab.
So there's a number of people who are here today at this symposium from impacted communities, technical experts, and around the province who have a number of ideas, but they've never had the opportunity to come together to bounce those ideas off of each other and to determine what our priorities are and how they fit together.
There's the problem. Limited dollars, many unaffected communities with needs of their own. But with the fury and destruction of the flood still fresh in the minds of so many, there is an appetite to think big and protect communities with large public projects.
A lot of these mitigation measures, when you first hear about them, almost sound a bit like science fiction. You know, could you build a spillway between the Elbow and Bow Rivers to take the pressure off of the confluence? These are really interesting questions, and they're very expensive.
And even if they are viable, those large projects take years to implement. In the meantime, communities are exposed to the risk of more floods. The responsibility for large-scale flood mitigation falls to the province, and some experts say they are moving in the right direction, but municipalities are falling behind.
Looking at infrastructure, looking at in particular the buried underground sewer system is one cluster of actions that the government needs to take. The second cluster of actions involve changing the behavior of homeowners.
The Institute for Catastrophic Flood Loss Reduction is calling on local governments to revise building codes, set new standards for stormwater systems, and replace some sewers. These measures won't stop major rivers from bursting their banks, but they can ease damage caused by rain falling directly on communities. Many ideas are coming together, but flood-affected Albertans will judge their governments on how many of these ideas escape the room and get put into action.
And Bill joins us now with more. So, Bill, what do representatives from the insurance industry have to say about all this?
Well, they had some pretty eye-popping numbers, really. They put up a graph showing the average claims per year for weather-related losses over the past 30 years. Now, in each of the last 3 years, those claims were more than $500 million. The last time the claims were that high was just once, and that was in 1991. So the industry is concerned. Another way to put it, the average cost of claims per person was about $35 just 10 or 15 years ago. That has jumped in the last few years to about over $130 per person. Now, berms and dry pond projects are being proposed for the headwaters of the Highwood and the Elbow Rivers to kind of ease the effect of those major storms should we get them again in the future. But those big picture projects are going to take years to implement. There's things that homeowners can do right now to start protecting themselves in the event of future floods. If you go to ICLR.org, there's videos, reports, and lots of expert advice on there. Great spot to check out. Tara?
Okay, Bill, thank you.
If you've got a great idea to create positive change,